Hi y'all, it's Charlene from the Crafty Art Shack, and we're back here today with another challenge video. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit, so let's get on with the crafts. Let's go! Alright, here we go with DIY number 1. Alright, for our first DIY, we're going to be working with this wooden rolling pin. We're actually going to be working with rolling pins throughout the video today because we have rolling pin a place to fill with rolling pins in our booth. So for this first one, I am taking some of this Ocean by Waverly chalk paint, and we are going to paint the handles with this because we want to do a blue handled rolling pin this time. So we're going to paint the handle. Now this one is not going to be one that you can use for cooking or baking or anything. It's strictly for show and for display. So we're going to paint the rolling pin handles blue. We're going to paint the rolling pin itself with, yeah, look at that camera action. Ooh, and I am doing great today with that camera action. So for the center part, I always like to prop it up on some blocks because it makes it easier to paint because you can roll that center. So we're going to take some Rust-Oleum Linen White Chalk paint. And if my husband's watching, yes, I'm using Rust-Oleum Linen White Chalk paint today. So get ready for it, hubby. I love you. And so we're going to paint the whole rolling pin barrel with the Rust-Oleum Linen White, and we are only going to put one coat on it because we really don't need it to be 2 full coats. And then we're going to set that aside and let it dry. And after it's completely dry, now you want to make sure it's completely dry because you don't want to do what I just did. Okay, so I'm trying to find out where I'm going to put this little rub-on decal that I got out of that set from, I think it's the Redesign set, and you get a lot in that one particular package. So I wanted to make sure that I'm putting it directly in the center, and you guys, you really have to wait for your paint to dry and cure because you're going to see what happened to me in just a second. It made a mess. It made a big mess. But you know me, I'm going to make it work one way or another. And yeah, look at me. If I had just measured the center of that decal and the center of the rolling pin and lined them two up, it would have been a heck of a lot easier. But no, I had to take that little block thing and measure it out and move it and measure it out and move it. So I started rubbing this on. And when I did, and I noticed that when I pulled my painter's tape off, pulled some of the paint up, I wasn't too worried about that because that it was going to be sanded down anyway. But watch what happens when I put this on. And I believe the reason why this happened to me, and if you know, this came off of the transfer piece, but it came off onto the white paint and lifted everything up. And I'll show you that in just a second. Now, it pulled the white paint completely off the rolling pin, and I believe it's because I didn't let the rolling pin cure overnight. So what I decided to do, and you see the decal is still there, the rub-on transfer is still there, but it's on the paint. It lifted the paint off the rolling pin. So what I'm doing is I'm very carefully going through and pulling this off of that transfer. And then I'm going to fix it and make it work. You guys, there are workarounds for some things that you do that don't turn out okay. I got lucky with this one, and I've learned my lesson. Must let the paint cure overnight so that you don't run into this problem. So you're going to have to be very, very careful when pulling this up. Now, I had to work with it quite a bit just to get it up, and you want to be careful to do it slowly so that you don't stretch your design, because if you stretch it, then it doesn't lay back down flat like it should. So that's the reason why I'm taking the time to do this, and I'm going to show y'all how I fixed it. So let me get this off of here, and I'll be right back. Now that I've got my transfer off of there, what I did is I went and laid a coat of very thin Mod Podge down, and you notice I use that little fan brush, and then I'm very gently, now I know it doesn't look like I'm being gentle because I got the video sped up, but I'm being very gentle and laying this back down there with the Mod Podge, and I am so carefully putting this on there because I didn't want to lose my design. You know, you pay money for these things and you don't want them to be, you don't want to mess them up. So learn from my mistake. This is how you can fix it if it happens. And it's on there now. It is not coming off. You'd have to do some major sanding to get this one off. And so anyway, I'm going to take and get this all put down with the Mod Podge. And then I am going to seal the whole thing with some clear wax, and then we'll see this at the final reveal. Now here we go with DIY number 2. Now here we go with DIY number 2. Now for this DIY I have this smaller rolling pin, and I'm looking to see and make sure that all the components are working like they should. Now I took some of that moss green Waverly chalk paint because this works out really beautiful for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the handles on this one the moss green. But I wanted to put some stripes on it, so I am going to take my painter's tape. I take one round is going to be the thick piece, and then I'm going to cut a piece into smaller pieces and create the second stripe, which is going to be very small. But first I'm doing the ends, and then I'll show you what it looks like in just a second. Here's the layout of how I put it together, and you'll see where those two stripes are, the blue tape is. I'm not going to paint the blue tape, I'm going to paint the stripes in the center of that blue tape, if that makes sense. Anyway, you'll see me do it in just a second. So I'm going to use moss green there, and I'm going to use it on the handles. Now you want to make sure you get down inside those little holes on your rolling pin so that they're completely covered. You guys, this one, I absolutely love this one. This one turned out gorgeous. So let me get this painted and I'll be right back. Now, once you paint your stripes, you want to go in there and you want to remove the tape before your paint dries, but be careful, don't smear your paint. So that's what you see me doing here. And normally I save my pieces of tape to reuse, and I'm going to set that up on a block so that it has time to dry. Now for this one, I am going to take and put on a rub on transfer. I got this set from Amazon, and it has a bunch of different farmhouse stuff in it, and it is super sticky. So when you lay it down, be sure you know where you want it when you put it on there. So I'm going to take this goose, and it's got evergreens around it, but I thought it was just so pretty with this moss green, and I'm going to take my rubbing tool and I'm going to rub that in really good, and then I'm going to slowly peel that back off of there. Now these transfers that came from Amazon are super sticky, so you want to make sure you get it where you want it so that it's where you want it to be. And then I just go back over it with my hand to make sure it's all rubbed down, and then I'm going to add these little flowers on the sides of it, and then we'll go to the next step. Now for our next step, we are going to take and put some of this Waverly antiquing wax. We're going to put it on the handles. Now I did sand my handles down. I'm sorry that's out of frame, but I sanded my handles down some so that I'd have some of that raw wood showing through. And I'm going through and putting this on, and then I'm going to wipe some of it back off. Now I'm going to do that on the rolling pin and on the handles itself, and we will see this one at the final reveal. Now here we go with DIY number 3. Now for our last DIY is this rolling pin here. We're going to paint the handles red, we're going to add some stripes to it, and then we're going to add us a rub-on transfer on this one as well. So we're going to complete the same steps that we did before. Now I'm going to put my stripes in a different place on this one because I don't want all my rolling pins to look alike for my booth. I want them each to be different. Now I am going to go back in there and sand these handles back. Now here you see me adding my stripes on. Now I'm using a wider tape to get my stripes closer into the center of the rolling pin. I'm just lining it up with the edge, and then I'll add a piece of the blue tape in there next to get it to where it is has a smaller space in there. Now here's what the layout looks for the red stripes. Now the red stripes are going to be painted in there where you see the wood pieces, not the center ones, but there, and then the next one over is going to be painted. And then, okay, then after that I took this little red barn transfer that came out of that same kit as the little duck did, and I am going to take and apply this to the rolling pin. Then I'm going to add some Waverly antiquing wax, and I am going to do some sanding on this because if you'll notice my lines had some little bleeds to them, so I'm going to sand those back and add the Waverly antiquing wax, and we'll see this at the final reveal. Now, as most of you know, we opened up a booth this weekend. Here is a ton of thrift flips we did. We found these table legs, and if you find a table on the side of the road or multiple tables and it has a broken leg, pick up the legs because they make excellent items to redo and flip. Now, I found a bunch of bed skirts, and I made these valances, and here is the post up there that you see is what we hung our lights from at the top of our shelves, and you also see those valances back there in the back, and here's another one of those posts. There is tons of things that you can do with nothing to make it into something. So if you're ever driving down the road and you see those table legs, pick them up because they make excellent things. So here, this hutch, Beth's daughter went in there and helped us flip this, and I added the handles. Beth helped with it, and we got it all put together and put in the booth. I think it turned out absolutely gorgeous. That little doggy bed down at the bottom, we did that as well. There are so many things that we thrift flipped this week in really quick for our booth to be able to set it up. And I'm going to show you more pictures of the booth in just a minute, and I just wanted to share these flips with you. Right at this time, we'd like to thank our subscribers. We love you bunches. We really appreciate everything from the bottom of our heart that you do for our channel. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Words aren't enough to thank you for what you've done for us in this channel. And here we go with the final reveal. Alright, y'all, we're back from the craft desk, and didn't these just turn out awesome? Well, if you like this content, subscribe, like, and share because it really helps our video out. And for all our subscribers, thank you so much for everything you do for us by subscribing to the channel. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Crafty Art Shack. We'll see you later. Bye. Now here is Beth and I when we were standing in front of the Avalon Mall, and we announced that we were getting a booth. Now here is what the booth looked like before, and I'm going to just let this play out. Look at this. This is when the previous owner was there, and this is what he had in his booth. He had a lot of interesting things in there, but we will show you the pictures of what it looks like after we came in. And here it is after a paint job, some new shelves, and all of the different little things that you can add in to make it look very beautiful. And we've still got some work to do. If you notice, the lights aren't up there yet, but look at that sign Beth made for the kids corner, and look at all the stuff. There is tons of thrift flips that we did this week, and you could just imagine. And there's tons of stuff that we've made in our videos here. If you see something in there that, if you watch our videos, you can see some of the things that we made and put in there. And then there's a ton of thrift flips that we put in there. And I call them thrift flips. They may have come from somewhere else. Now, in addition to opening our booth, we finally hit our goal of 1,000 followers. Thank you guys so much. And 4,000 watch hours. We really appreciate everyone who made this happen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, y'all, if y'all go check out our community tab on our YouTube channel, you will find the channel lineup for the week there on our community tab. So if you ever want to know what's going on with our channel or new things that are happening or anything like that, go check out that community tab. That's where we're posting all of our information that is important for that moment in time. So go check us out.
So you guys, if you like this content, subscribe. Hit that notification bell and give us that big thumbs up because it really helps our channel out. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Crafty.